My sophomore year of college, I was given an opportunity that would change the way I looked at the world around me and set me on a path I never thought I would live. This is my story. I was invited by a campus minister to be a part of a pilot cross-cultural mission experience traveling to a Spiritan mission in San Juan de la Maguana, Dominican Republic. Our group was to be there a week, and we would be running a day camp with Dominican teens in the local parish youth group for the children of the barrio. I'd never left the country before and had always wanted to, so immediately I said yes. After 14 plus hours of traveling, we landed in Santo Domingo, the capital. We were met by Hector and Hector in two pickup trucks. They were to drive us 3 hours from the capital to San Juan. We crammed into the trucks, and I was promptly rocked to sleep by the bumps of the unpaved road and the sounds of Hector listening to the rosary being prayed in Spanish on the radio. I want to say my senses were heightened. They weren't. I was exhausted and ready to finally be at our destination. Finally, we arrived in Barrio Villa Liberacion at Nuestra Señora de Esperanza Parish. We were greeted by Padre Don McCacken, the Spiritan priest who runs the little parish, and who would be our guide for the week. At that point of stepping out of the truck and seeing Don, it became aware to me that he was the only other white person in miles. I remember thinking it was odd that that was my first thought. He gave us a tour of the parish center where we were to stay that week. We saw the homey little country church, the barrels of water that we were in charge of monitoring and chlorinating so that we would have drinking water, the kitchen where we were to cook our meals, the bathrooms, and of course, the converted classrooms where we were to sleep. I met Chi-Chi, our 80-year-old night guard, who nonchalantly was carrying around a rather large machete, and Francisco, a local seminarian. This all seemed to be about what I expected from the pre-trip meetings, and then, just as I thought the excruciatingly long day of travel was coming to an end, and we would be able to get some rest, Padre informed the group that we could not stay at the center that night because there was a marriage retreat. No worries, though. He had arranged for some teens in the youth group to house us in pairs until the retreat was over. And just like that, an hour after we arrived, I was paired with another girl on the trip who spoke Spanish, Sylvia. Padre tossed our bags and us into the back of his pickup truck and dropped us off at our various destinations. I was panicked. This was my first day out of the country. I had been promised homestays weren't going to happen for another couple of days. I barely knew Sylvia. Now she was my only link to anything familiar. Arriving at Ileani's house at 11 p.m., Ileani asked if we wanted to walk around the barrio. I said no, but Sylvia enthusiastically said yes. As we walked around, I could hear voices from the shadows saying, "Americano," as we passed. This didn't help my nerves. We met every possible family member and were hugged and kissed by everyone in the neighborhood. I started to feel better, but it still felt like a dream. As we curled up to go to sleep that night, Sylvia calmly rolled over and said, "Good night, Gatti," and peacefully fell asleep. I, however, laid awake with my eyes wide open for hours, wondering when an intruder was going to bust into our unlocked house and attack those Americanos he had seen earlier that night. The next morning and the rest of the week, I was sort of shut off. Culture shock had hit full force and I didn't know how to handle it. However, at the time, there wasn't time to handle it. We had a camp to run and youth group meetings to attend, and of course the pool day with the kids, which is where my culture shock wore off and I finally began to get to know the people of this small town. They were wonderful. Together with the Jóvenes, we climbed to the top of the tallest building in San Juan and looked out and saw Haiti in the distance. We hiked a bat cave, ate foods I never would have in the States, sat on the rock of Anacaona, a Taínos Indian queen, and of course danced until we could barely walk anymore. Somewhere in that week I learned what it meant to be Dominican, and it wasn't because of all of the stuff we did or the local history we learned. It was because of the people who took the time to get to know me and I them. Somehow, despite my mediocre Spanish and their couple words of English, we truly formed friendships, which I still have today. However, when I left, I felt I had not fully embraced this experience the way I should have because of the culture shock. I vowed if I ever got to go back, I would make the most of it. And lucky enough, not only was I able to return once, but 4 more times, and leading students on the same experience that I had had. It's a blessing I get to help walk with others on their journey of cultural discovery. And since the trip falls on my birthday each year, I obviously demand a birthday dinner of Pedro Burger. The oddest burger you will ever have in a town that feels like home to me, even though it's rather far away from here.